What it do, y'all? It's your girl T Donna. I'm back at it again with another T-ism. Y'all, thank y'all for so much love for the past 3 episodes. Episode 3 was kind of long, but I had to really talk about the unpunishable woman because that's just a hot topic that I really want to talk about. But we're gonna do another short episode for y'all. This one is over three things. It's called the no or the. In this episode, we're really gonna talk about how women and just people in general. Because shout out to my fellas that are fans of this. Shout out to y'all because y'all really showing love to this podcast because it's really directed towards inner validation towards women. But we're going to kind of, I think guys is feeling this like they understanding it, speaking to them. So shout out to y'all. But let's get back to my ladies. It's called the, and it's do you know who you are? Do you know what you want? And can you be uncomfortable while getting there? Those three things I felt in the past 2.5, 3 years of my life from the age of 20, I'll even say 27 to the age of 31. That's probably more than four. I'm not good at math, but it is what it is. I turned 31 February the 23rd, 1995. I'm a 90s baby. I am a millennial. I understand millennials, but I really relate more to Gen Z. And with this dynamic, what I'm noticing is people trying to skip the uncomfortable part. They're only wanting to feel the fun part of getting everywhere, but the uncomfort is where you grow. And just like an auntie, I had my chapstick in my bra, but don't worry about it. But they're trying to skip the uncomfortable part, but the uncomfortable part is where you grow. And I was reading some books and I was watching some movies. And y'all know me, I'm a black Hollywood, black movie buff. And I was watching two black movies that every black girl should be watching from the age of 14 to about 25. And you need to rewatch it again in their late 20s and early 30s. And those movies were Baps in Players Club. Some of y'all like T. How is Baps and Players Club about being uncomfortable and growing and knowing who you are and knowing where you want to be, right? Well, let's start off with the breakdown of those movies, right? So first, before we get into that, like hoochieism or just being a hoochie is like the know, the want, the risk, right? Of being who you are. Because one, you know what you want, right? As a black woman or as a hoochie or whatever you call yourself a baddie, you know what you want. You want this, you want that, you want luxurious, you want a comfortable life, you want whatever you want. But you know that you have to risk something to get there. And in both of those movies, those ladies risk something to get there, but they kept their autonomy. They kept who they were to be able to get there. And I think that that is the most important part of those movies. Like, and the risks were hard. For Babs, the risks were very scary financially. And for Players Club, the risk was almost her life, her well being. But she knew she had to do it because she knew what she wanted, Diamond, in Players Club. So that's what I want to really dig into, right? So Babs, Niecy, and Mickey, the two characters, they were working at a diner and they wanted more in life. They wanted so much more in life that they were willing to take a risk, right? Because they knew who they were. They knew they were beautiful women. They knew they were talented. They knew they deserved better in love when it came to partners. They knew they deserved better than that diner job. They knew they deserved better than that two-bedroom apartment in Atlanta, Georgia that they were staying in, right? And this is before Atlanta was the Atlanta we know. This is talking about 90s Atlanta, right? So what happened is that these women knew who they were deep down. They knew their autonomy. They knew what they wanted. They knew they deserved better. And they realized nobody was going to give it to them. The men that they were dating in the movie wasn't going to give it to them. The job wasn't going to give it to them. Atlanta wasn't offering it at that time. So what they did is they took a risk. They took all the money out their account and went to LA for a heavy D video shoot, right? And we looking at them like in the movie, like they ain't finna get this, right? But the fact that they took the risk to try it, right? And they knew that if they got it, they would be good. If they didn't get it, they'll be uncomfortable in LA because they didn't have no money to get back to Atlanta, right? So they knew there was going to be an uncomfortable moment once they got to LA. And what happened is that risk they also took was being fake actors for the man that was dying. They took a risk too because like this could go wrong. We could be fucked up. We could be sitting in the streets. He could just kick us out this house. We ain't got nowhere to go. We ain't got no money. We ain't got nothing. But the risk end up following with a reward. But before we get to the reward, I want y'all to understand that these girls, Mickey and Niecy, end up using what they are, using their kindness out of their heart, the love, the respect. They used everything they had, and they wasn't even trying to manipulate the man. It was his nephew, but they just took who they were and they impressed this man, the rich guy, and he just fell in love with them like platonically. And at the end, they got the reward. But what I want to remind y'all is that if you know what you want, you know who you are, and you're okay with being uncomfortable, because even in them doing the deed, they were uncomfortable because like, we manipulating this man. This is not going against our morals, right? But it wasn't to the point where they were losing who they were. And so they were willing to work hard, get there, take the risk and get there. Like, you know what? Yeah, we're uncomfortable right now. We're acting like this man's love of his life granddaughter, but we still being who we are and still trying to get where we need to get. So it's like, boom, okay. They were willing to know who they are, be uncomfortable to get there, and take the risk, and at the end they end up getting the reward, right? And I know I feel like I'm talking in circles, but y'all gotta really just hear what I'm saying. Like, this is a word right now. And with that movie, it just shows that, like, be who you are, but continue to push towards it, and it's the uncomfortableness will pass, because at the end of the movie they end up getting the money to start their beauty shop, right? That Niecy wanted to start, and Mickey was able to start her soul food business because they were uncomfortable for that moment, right? And they took the risk to get where they were, and they were continuing to be who they were, right? This might be a little long episode. This might get 10 minutes, but I got to get to the Players Club one, all right? Another example of this is Players Club. I was watching Players Club the other day, and a lot of people, there's a lot of discourse online talking about, why didn't Diamond just go to that PWI? Why she went to that HBCU? She didn't have to go to that HBCU. She could have went to that PWI. Diamond knew who she was, and she knew that if she would have went to that HBCU, she would have got where she wanted to be and would have been surrounded by people that she was supported her. I might be looking too crazy into this movie, but just listen to me. Listen to me. So when Diamond left her daddy house, she already knew who she was and what she wanted to be. She wanted to get there through that HBCU, right? She wanted to be a radio TV broadcast, right? She wanted to be a TV host, a radio host, or whatever she wanted to do. She wanted to do something in communications. She wanted to get it from an HBCU. She knew who she was. HBCU was aligned to her. She knew that, right? That comes with that inner validation. Like, she knew what was aligned to her. She knew her intuition was calling her to that HBCU. Her dad said no. She knew that that was going to be out of her alignment if she went to that HBC, did not go to that HBCU and went to that PWI. So guess what she did? She took the risk because she knew who she was, and she went to that strip club. I know Trix and Ronnie came up there and they kind of did some things to her, right? And that made her uncomfortable, because there was a scene in the movie where Ronnie was trying to tell her, hey, you gonna feel a little uncomfortable. It's your first dance. That's like a metaphor, a foreshadow. I might have used the wrong thing. My English teachers helped me, or my English uh, majors helped me. That was foreshadowing what she was feeling in the beginning. She was going to be uncomfortable, but she knew the risk of being a stripper and being uncomfortable was going to come with a reward, because she had a 4-year plan to use that job to pay for her HBCU tuition, because her dad denied that because she went there. So she knew who she was, she knew what she wanted, and she knew she had to be uncomfortable to get there, right? Okay. So her being uncomfortable in the movie, every scene, all the way up until Ebony got there and this issue happened with Ebony, was her being uncomfortable. And honestly, that still was her being uncomfortable, because every phase she was there, that 4 years at the Players Club, she was uncomfortable, but she stayed focused on who she is and what she wanted, and knowing, okay, this is just time. That's something that's going to pass. Because once I get out of this season, I'm going to move on to the next, which is the winning season. But right now, I'm just uncomfortable because I know that this is what I got to do to get where I need to be. So, Players Club was like the movie. Oh my God, I'm feeling it right now. But she really, Diamond shows what it's like to be resilient, but also just really knowing to take the risk. And at the end of the day, she kept her autonomy, because she even said she went into the Players Club as a young lady and came out as a grown ass woman. And that's part of the growth. You're going to grow. Same thing with Niecy and Mickey. They went in there as young country girls and came out as classy ladies. Even though they kept their hoochie aesthetic, both of them actually did, because they both have hoochie aesthetics. Those are both hoochie like movies. Like, those are top of hoochie movies. But it's like they kept their autonomy. They knew who they were at the end. Their character never changed. Their morals never changed. And if it did change, it changed to be better, not to be worse, right? Because at the end of the day, not Ebony, Diamond made sure Ebony was good. And Ebony learned a lesson because she didn't have autonomy. She didn't know what she wanted to be. She was just there for the ride. And that's a lesson on, you can't just be there for the ride for anything. You actually got to know what you want before you go do what you need to do. Because if you let anything get you, you're going to fall for anything. And Ebony learned that lesson in Players Club. Same thing with the nephew. He was trying to manipulate his uncle and end up losing everything because he didn't stand for nothing, or his greed outgrew who he was, right? So at the end of the day, when you are in this life, when you're living this life, One thing you got to know is three things that you need to have. You need to know who you are, and that means your morals, your character, who you are as a person, your autonomy, make your own decisions, your own choices inside of you. You have to know that, right? Know what you want and understand that there is going to be some uncomfort when you take a risk, because being uncomfortable requires you to grow. There is not There's nothing in this life that is going to help you, not going to hurt you. So that means if you plan on expanding or doing something different, you're going to stretch. Stretching is going to require you to get sore. I work out a lot. When I stretch and I go to the gym and I work out with these muscles, the next day I'm sore for about probably two. If I'm really working out, 3 days. I let that soreness fade though, because I know it's gonna feel better by day four. I'm gonna go back in the gym and do the same thing for another body part because I want to expand. So when you expand, you're going to hurt. That's the same thing with life. When you know who you are, know what you want, but you know you got to be uncomfortable to get there, because you're not going to be able to get there being the same person you are. If you are still lifting the same goddamn weight every day in the gym, you're not going to grow. If you want different results, you got to do different shit. So that's why I love both of those movies, because literally Niecy and Mickey and Baps did something different, right? Diamond did something different. And even though the cards they dealt, they still expanded and grew. And at the end of the day, they got their reward. And I think that's possible for everybody. The trip might take you a little longer than the other trips, other people. But one thing you have to realize is you know who you are, you know what you want. And are you willing to be, or do you know you're willing to be uncomfortable in that season to get to the reward? Because the reward is going to come, right? This is another long episode, y'all. But thank y'all for tapping into T-ism. Make sure you know right? All those three things, or do you, whatever you want to call this episode, we'll figure out at the end when y'all see the title. But thank y'all for tapping in for the T-ism. We will see y'all again next time, next Thursday.